following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zig Zag Man, in Alameda, California, pushing on the doors of life, Mark Pull, and fighting the unholy trinity as we go. Big business, organized religion, and what's the third one, Alan, that's so
Donald
bad?
Trump.
Donald Trump, yes, the government. Alan Blumkin is with me here, and we're just not going to talk much politics. We're going to talk about the late Vera Clemente, passed away very recently, and she was, for those of you who don't know, the wife of the late, great Roberto Clemente. And I asked Alan to pay homage to the Clementes with me. You are originally a Yankee fan. You went to school in Pittsburgh and just so happened to fall in love with the Pirates right about the time where Bill Mazeroski was
about 2 years before that.
Oh, okay.
I bet a friend of mine 50 cents that they would finish ahead of the San Francisco Giants. When I was
that
15,
year.
When I was 15, that was a lot of money back then.
Okay.
So I started rooting for them, and they finished second, and the Giants finished third. It's the first time in 10 years that they had been out of what they call the second division.
Right. Now, that was back when each league had just 8 teams.
8 teams, right, yeah.
So the first 4 were in the second division, or in the first division.
Yeah.
The second 4 were in the second division. And the worst you could be in was the basement.
Yeah, and the first 4 teams got were receiving cuts of the World Series money.
Right.
There were no division series or league championship series back in those days.
Right. And the World Championship is where the big bucks were. There were a few dollars given for second, third, and fourth.
Yeah.
They called that finishing in the money.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. And
it's like racehorses. It's like racehorses that turn second to third.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was when you were a kid that you first got attached to the Pirates. Now, was that one of the reasons? Your dad didn't know about it, but was that one of the reasons
I made sure when he wanted to visit the place, the campus, that they were on the road.
So you wouldn't be tempted.
That's right. The Forbes Field was 2 blocks away from the Pitt campus there.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was
the tickets during the regular season in the left field bleachers cost $1. And if me and some of my friends got ambitious, we'd pay $3 to sit in the grandstand.
Well,
and generally
I remember box seats at Yankee Stadium were like $2.50.
Yeah, and they would also generally open the gates in the 7th inning. They opened those steel gates in the outfield, and people would come in between the 7th and the 8th innings. I did that once, and I had something to do. I went there once, and the game went 16.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you got a full game out of it.
Full game for nothing, yeah.
Did the Yankees and Giants and Dodgers do that as well in the
Not
7th
as far
inning?
as I know.
Okay, I don't remember that, but isn't that nice to do for the fans? And the one other thing when I was a kid that I remember distinctly was Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. Bob Hope owned a piece of the Cleveland Indians, and Bing Crosby a piece of the Pirates.
Yeah, Bing Crosby is how they wind up signing Vernon Law, who
really?
From Idaho, yeah. And once the scout mentioned Crosby, his mother was a big fan of Crosby. He got Bing Crosby to call his brother-in-law's mother.
Wow. Whoa. Very interesting.
And Law was 20 years old when he made the team in 1950, so he had to be a teenager when he was signed.
Yes, and probably parents' permission was needed, and
yeah,
certainly a big influence on what the kid does.
Yeah.
So that's a nice story.
Yeah.
I remember in the spring you'd see his spring training pictures. You'd see Bing Crosby. I don't remember Bob Hope in a Cleveland uniform much in my head.
No,
but I remember Bing Crosby working out with the team. Joe E. Brown was another showbiz guy.
Joe L. Brown, his son, was the general manager from 1956 to sometime in the mid-60s. He succeeded Branch Rickey when Rickey retired after 1955.
We're both former New Yorkers. I moved to California. You lived a little while in Pittsburgh and then moved back to New York. Tell me about Pittsburgh, not just from a baseball standpoint.
No, the thing I like most about it, it was easy to get from any one point to the other.
Okay.
When I got there, they had trolleys. Okay, and I hadn't seen trolleys since I left the Bronx in 1951.
Right.
So my jaw dropped. But, it was very, very easy to get around. Pittsburgh was about the size of the Bronx. So it was very easy to get from one point to another. And one of the things that surprised me is that when one of the first days was there, I went to this place, I ordered a soda, and they gave me an ice cream soda. I said, "What's this?" He says, "This is a soda." I said, "I meant the Pepsi or 7-Up or whatever." He says, "No, that's pop." And the people in Pittsburgh basically spoke with a mid-West accent, which I wasn't used to. Because the only other experience I had up to that point was when I went on a trip with my father. We used to sell jewelry through the South and Southwest. And southern accents I heard, I thought that everybody else outside of Boston and sounded like New Yorkers. I was very, very surprised about that, but it didn't take me that long to adjust. It took me about 2 years to adjust to saying please and thank you.
I used to go to camp, summer camp in the Poconos, and half the camp or half the campers were from Philadelphia. And that was a very distinct accent. And I had that in my head since I was a kid. As far as I know, it's very close to a Pittsburgh accent. There's not much of it.
No, Pittsburgh has to some extent a language of all its own. And I picked up some of the terms from some of the Pittsburgh Facebook groups I'm in. I have 3 friends left from my college days. 2 of the other ones I had were fairly close to passed away in recent years. I have a friend, Al Anderson, in Ohio, who's done a few podcasts. He's in Troy, Ohio. He's originally from Cleveland. My friend Stanley Schweiger, who was originally from the Bronx and is now living in Long Meadow, Massachusetts. A guy named Steve Gansman, who was born and bred Philadelphian. He was the one I snuck at the Forbes Field with in 1960.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in the Game 7. Yeah, so we go back close to 60 years.
Well, what was your technique for sneaking in the ballpark?
It's very simple. We were watching the game on the television in the dorm. When Smith hit the home run in the 8th inning, Hal Smith, I had a transistor radio. And so I put it on, and we went down the stairs and ran over to the ballpark. figuring that they'd get the Yankees out in the ninth inning easily, and there'd be a celebration. So we get in there, and on the radio, don't know that the Bob Friend was in trouble again. So we went into the bleacher entrance, and the guards were busy watching. The security was busy watching the game.
Okay.
So we crawled in the front. There's a stairwell. The seats in there are separated by a walk there, and we crouched down so we wouldn't block anybody. And we saw the Yankees tie it up in the ninth. And then were there for the Mazeroski home run, and you could have heard a pin drop in that ballpark when he hit the ball, but when it went over the outfield fence, outfield wall, the place exploded like it was nuts.
It was like everybody's taking a breath. They're taking a big breath and getting it. At the first World Series for them in 33 years, and later on, in 1985, when I interviewed Dick Roach for about 4 hours, I asked him whether it meant as much if they'd beaten the Indians or the White Sox or whoever. He said no. Oh.
The fact that they beat the Yankees put it on a different level.
Yes.
Because the Yankees were winning all the time in those years. Yeah.
And the fact that what's interesting about that, a National Leaguer saying that, respecting the Yankee legend and what have you.
So I asked him about 1964 when he was with the Cardinals and they beat the Yankees in the seventh game. That wasn't as dramatic, that game. And he said, it wasn't quite on the level of the 60 Pirates, but it was exciting.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. What kind of a fielder was Dick Grote?
Dick Grote was not a great fielder, but he was one of these types like Alvin Dark or Lou Boudreau or Derek Jeter. He knew how to play everybody.
Okay.
He had absolutely no speed. That's why he developed to be one of the best hit-and-run players in Major League history, because he knew if he hit ground balls with a man on first, that there would be double plays.
Right, and that's
Very
when the
smart
game was
man.
played
Very
a little.
The
game itself was played a little differently. It was get him on, get him over, get him in, and I'm sure that there are baseball fans today who have never heard that expression and that philosophy or ideology of what a manager was thinking back then. Am I right?
Yeah.
The game really has changed, and not for the better.
When David Hubble mentioned that last Tuesday about the framing rankings for catches,
right.
I couldn't believe it. And the next day in the paper, there was an article on it.
That goes to show you that people don't see what could be the cause of that. It could be the umpires don't want to be shown up, and they might have said, "Look, stop! A pitch is a pitch. Don't go overboard. You want to frame a pitch. We won't give you the call, and when you're at bat, you want to mess with us, we'll mess with you." I think that had a lot to do with his framing percentage going down. That might have had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, who cares about that? I mean, it's like,
who cares about that? And by the way, a pitch is
launch angle and the exit velocity,
any
rotation,
of that.
all this nonsense that's killing the game. It really is.
It's just too damn much to keep up with.
Also, I want to make one statement before we start on Clemente. The American League writers elected Mike Trout as the most valuable player. The Angels were 72-90. This is the worst record. I've checked a few others that were down there, like Ernie Banks.
That's exactly the example I was going to give.
Yeah, ever to produce an MVP. How can you be an MVP on a team that wins MVP of the league that wins 72 games?
Because awards are popularity contests.
Now
they're subjective, not objective. Titles are, you say, DeGrom wins the ERA title. Well, he wins the ERA title. But you say he wins Cy Young, well, there's that debate. Should have he won it, this, that, and the other? Not that he shouldn't have. I'm using him as an example. That it's merely a popularity contest sometimes.
Trout missed most of the last month. But the stat heads have him as one of the greatest players of all time already. And he's played. I made this argument on Facebook, and I got lambasted for it. That he's played very, very few games in his career that have meant anything. He's not playing under pressure, okay?
That's true.
So, I'm more upset by this than I should be. But to me, it's just like, it's like when these idiots, when Pujols got 2,000 RBIs, saying that Babe Ruth got 49 home runs during his career with the Red Sox and drove in no runs because it wasn't official since 1920, RBIs. They been keeping it since 1907, and everything before that has been basically reconstructed.
Oh,
so the ESPN and the MLB are telling that Ruth doesn't have 2,000 RBIs. I said, I told them, all my friends, I said, in essence, they're saying he hit 49 home runs with the Red Sox with no RBIs.
Yeah, which
just doesn't make sense.
Silly, of course. All right, Alan, let's get to the Clementes, and let's go ladies first in this case. What did Vera mean to you as a Pittsburgh fan?
Well, basically, when I woke up on New Year's Day, 1973, I put the radio on for the news. And the first thing I heard was about the plane crash that killed Roberto Clemente. I was stunned because I was at all four of the games in Baltimore in 1971 World Series when he put on a show. He was 37 years old at the time, put on a show that was amazing. Okay. And he had a pretty decent year for a 38-year-old in 1972. And little did I realize when they blew the final game in the LCS to the Reds that was the last time I'd ever see him play. He was extremely involved in all these humanitarian causes down in Puerto Rico. And when he got word of the devastating earthquake they had in Nicaragua, he decided to fill a
humanitarian thing.
Yeah, with supplies and make sure it got there. Because I think there was a couple of times the plane flew and got there, and the supplies disappeared.
Oh, really?
But the plane was very, very, rickety and in bad condition. And just as soon as it got off the ground, basically it crashed into the ocean. His body was never found.
Ugh.
Now, this was New Year's Eve, 1972. He had married Vera, from what I read in the obituaries, after the 1964 season. And the first several years, they produced three sons, Roberto Jr., Luis, and I forget the name of the third one, but I'm friendly with Luis on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
So I put him, he has a lot of friends, so I put out a message, con mucho simpático por su madre, Doña Vera. I don't know if he'll respond to it, but whether he does or not, that's something else altogether. But she basically, once she got the strength, they inducted Roberto into the Hall of Fame on a special election a few months after the plane crash. It was, You know, it was like that when they put Lou Gehrig in the Hall of Fame when he got sick with the ALS.
Right.
And Doña Vera and the three sons, when they were old enough, continued his legacy of bringing. He had a dream of building a sports center in Puerto Rico, so a lot of the impoverished people, kids there, could go play in this sports center, and Vera saw it through.
Nice.
She was involved most of the rest of her life in charity work and anything that she could do to keep Roberto's memory alive and Roberto's wishes alive.
Yeah,
and
she's a beautiful woman.
Yeah, she was given the name a few years ago, Doña Vera, which in that culture is almost like sainthood.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. And when I saw on Facebook, I think it was Friday, that somebody posted she was in delicate health. I really expected to be the end this quickly, but apparently whatever she had was, made it too far gone. But and the sons are all involved in keeping Roberto's memory alive. Luis does a lot of charitable work. I see by his posts on Facebook. And, I mean, it's been now it's been almost 47 years since the crash, and he's still in fresh memories. There are people on Facebook who post pictures of Roberto every day, going back to 1955 when he was a rookie. Through his last season, 1972, and there have been a lot of pictures over the years posted of Doña Vera. And of course, with what happened yesterday when she passed, everybody in every Pittsburgh group I'm in is putting up tons of pictures of her.
Good.
She was very, very well regarded and very beloved. And any time they had some sort of old-timers feature, involving either the 60 or 71 team, she would be there representing him.
Okay. Alan, when I was a kid, you were a young adult, and the National League All-Star teams, year after year, had Henry Aaron, Willie Mays, Frank Robinson, and Roberto Clemente playing the outfield. More than four other. Am I right? Of those guys. I mean, Kurt Flood played, later on, this, that, and the other thing. But of those four guys, does Roberto Clemente rank right up with those other three?
As far as overall ability, yes. I mean, he was not a power hitter, and he had power, but Forbes Field was not conducive to home runs.
Okay.
I mean, you had guys like Frank Thomas and Dick Stewart, and it was conducive at the late 40s and early 50s when they put up the fences in left field to make it shorter.
All-around game, including
all-around
defense.
Game. He had a gun for an arm.
Okay.
Tremendous fielder, speedy, and could hit.
Okay.
He had doubles and triples and that kind of thing. But the home runs were only 240, partially because he played half his games for most of his career in Forbes Field.
He wasn't a power hitter per se. He was a hitter who had a lot of punch.
Power, yeah.
Yeah. This is a little off the subject. In rating ball players, how does Al Kaline, an American League player, rank up with those four guys?
I don't think he's as good as any of them, because Kaline to me was an accumulator.
Okay.
I mean, he never led the league in anything after 1957. 57. He led in doubles once. But, he led the league in batting when he was 20 in 1955. And that's the only time you really see any... he was a very, very good player, don't get me wrong. But he played from 1953 through 1974. He had 399 home runs. And the only reason he spent his last 2 years as a DH. And that's the only reason he got over 3,000 hits. He was a very, very good player, but I don't believe he was in the class of any of the guys in the National League. And one time, they asked Richie Ashburn why when he was broadcasting, why the Phillies never won more than the one pennant in 1950, and his answer was 2 words: no blacks. The Phillies were the last team in the National League to integrate.
Okay, they definitely rose the level of play in baseball considerably. First 10 years, think of all the batting champions, the future Hall of Famers, the home run champions. It magnifies just what a disgrace it was to keep them out, and how little the records mean pre-1947.
Listen, I'm on a big Negro League site on Facebook, and I've done substantial readings on the Negro Leagues, and I find it very, very hard to read about the major leagues before 1947 because of that.
Right.
It's very, very difficult. Because I was a kid, I hated Jackie Robinson, Roy Campanella, and Newcomb because they were Dodgers, not because I hated blacks.
Right.
I was a big Yankee fan. I hated the Dodgers. I liked the Giants because the Giants would give the Dodgers a very tough time.
Right. Well, I can remember being a Giant fan. We had a bungalow in Rockaway, and my Aunt Bertha said I was this avid Giant fan, and she said, "But we have Jackie," meaning that the Brooklyn. She was a Brooklyn Dodger. We have Jackie. It just, it was almost it transcended baseball.
Yeah, well, basically, when January 31st, which was Robinson's birthday, comes around, I put down, along with Babe Ruth, they were the 2 most important players of the 20th century. Not the best, but the 2 most important. And I do the same thing on Ruth's birthday, which is February 6th. Yeah.
Would you say that Babe Ruth is, while I've got you thinking, would you say Babe Ruth is the best ever?
Well, no, I rate him that. Okay. I never got to see Josh Gibson or Oscar Charleston or any of the Cool Papa Bell or any of the really top-level black ball players, because when I started following, they were essentially non-persons. The only reason I knew about Satchel Paige is he came to the Indians in 1948.
Yeah.
And
believe it or not, later he was an old man when he came to the quote, an old man. He is the middle-aged man when he came to the Indians. When he came to the A's in Kansas City, I think it was 65, if I'm not mistaken. Whatever it was, he was in his 50s.
Yeah, they accepted birthday on him now because there were all sorts of dates. The accepted birthday now is July 7th, 1906. I mean, his birthday was year was unknown for quite a while.
Right.
And he used to give the Ryers. He's like Dizzy Dean. He used to give the Ryers all sorts of different stories.
Right. And if he even knew his own birth,
I'm sure he did. But there's an excellent biography that came out on him a couple of years ago by a writer named Larry Tye, Tye, and he described Page as the first free agent because he went wherever the money was.
Good analogy.
There were no,
yes.
there were no, there was no sanctity of contracts in the Negro Leagues.
Yeah, which led for them not being able to put as accurate a group of statistics together.
The stat keeping is terrible because nobody really cared for a long time.
Right.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. But the fact that these people were not allowed to play in the majors, and one of the big reasons that was Judge Landis. And
yes.
Landis would not get the he knew the majority of the owners would vote no, and he.
I was just going to say he represented the owners' belief.
Yeah, well, the owners. When the Jackie Robinson question came up, the Dodgers were the only team to vote in favor of it. And then the story is that Happy Chandler, who succeeded Landis as commissioner, said, if I don't let this man play in the major leagues because of his race, that may not be enough to get me into when I have to answer to God.
Mm.
So Chandler backed Robinson, and even Fort Frick, when the Cardinals in 1947 threatened to strike rather than play against him, he's threatened to throw them all out of baseball.
Oh. Well, so he took a stand to back it up.
Probably the only stand that Fort Frick ever took in his entire time as president of the National League. Or they usually let O'Malley run the things after O'Malley took over the Dodgers.
Fort Frick was the guy that wanted to put an asterisk on Roger Maris' record.
He was a ghostwriter for Babe Ruth.
Right.
So when Maris hit the 61, he put an asterisk. The next year, the same thing happened with Maury Wills and the stolen bases. And he stole 104, which beat Ty Cobb's record of 96, but he had 95 with the additional 8 games left, and there was no screaming about putting asterisks up for that.
Well, there was never an asterisk put up officially on Roger Maris's record. It was talked about, and I somewhere have the article when they decided not to put it in the record book, and I wish I could tell you.
The movie that Billy Crystal did about the Maris Mantle chase that year was 61 asterisk.
But the asterisk never appeared in an official record book of baseball.
No. But they started keeping.
That was a great movie. That was a terrific movie, by the way. Right up there with some of the other great baseball movies like The Natural.
Yeah. The thing is with that, the record books started to carry 154 game season records and 162 game record seasons.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Which the Elias, which I get every couple of years because they're very hard to come by, they still do that.
Ah, that's very interesting. I knew there wasn't an asterisk, but I didn't know that there were two sets of statistics, record statistics based on that. Whoa, you are, as usual, Al Blumkin, a wealth of information. This has been a terrific podcast, as having you on is always terrific. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we on with Noel tomorrow?
We are, as far as I know, at 10:30.
Your time, 1:30 my time. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, Al Blumkin. It's the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Ralph Tycho, the weak link of it all. Thanks again, Alan.
Yes, say hello to Tally.
I will.
Okay.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned Network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.